if this Joseph here in verse 16 is not a Gaura, a legal guardian, but is like the mistranslation says, husband, now we're left with 13. 14, 14, 13. Can't be. It's 14, 14, 14. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah.
So wait a second. Now wait a second. Now if this is Miriam's genealogy, shouldn't that tell you? Now it's obvious because you see it through the eyes of teaching and prophetic covering. We're under a prophetic covering. You see it through the eyes of revelation. Now look at it, it'll be obvious. Now look at verse 17. It'll be obvious. I'm sorry, 16. Yaakov brought forth the guardian Yosef, the guardian of Miriam, because obviously her father died or whatever situation, and of whom was born Yeshua. Who's the last person in the lineage before Mashiach? So therefore, whose genealogy is it? She's the last person mentioned before Yeshua is mentioned. So it's got to be her genealogy. Absolutely not Joseph's genealogy. Is it important? You bet it is. Because it makes a profound statement that Aramaic is the primacy, that the Aramaic Peshitta is the primacy document, and the Greeks are translations, i.e. mistranslations from the Aramaic, and when you go from Aramaic to Greek to English, you are asking for even more trouble. This is a marvelous proof that the original manuscripts were in Aramaic. But wait a second, before we close. Wait a second. What about Luke's genealogy? If Yeshua inherits the throne of Solomon through Matthew, where does that leave Luke? It's pointless. It's irrelevant. As soon as you say that a Mashiach can inherit the throne through Nathan, it becomes a moot, irrelevant point.
What happened to Luke then?
So why is it there?
It's Joseph's genealogy.
Ah.
Starts with Joseph.
Go back. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you. Now go back to Luke. You'll see it even clearer. Luke chapter 3.
Of course.
And I don't take credit for this. Thank Yahweh he used Andrew Gabriel Roth to bring this understanding to us. Wow. I do not take credit. I wish I could, but I can't. Andrew Gabriel Roth, Yahweh used him to bring this revelation to us. Exactly as Stefania just said. Look at verse 23. When Yeshua, it goes backwards, okay? When Yeshua himself began, he was about 30 years of age, being as reckoned by law the son of Joseph. Which Joseph is that talking about?
His father, his earthly father.
Miriam's husband.
Miriam's husband.
The guardian is not mentioned here. But notice, Miriam's husband, Joseph, was not the father, but by law, meaning this man was to Yeshua what the other Joseph was to Miriam. You missed it. This man, Joseph, was to Yeshua by law, not by biology, not by physical descent. By Torah law, Joseph, the stepfather, was to Yeshua what the guardian of the other Joseph, in verse 16 of Matthew 1, was to Mary. If this Joseph can be Yeshua's guardian, how come Mary can't have a guardian?
Yes.
That's right.
Amen.
Yes.
If Joseph was a legal guardian over Yeshua, then the other Joseph also was a legal guardian over Miriam. So then, whose genealogy is Luke's? It tells you right there, like Stefania said. It tells you right there. Here's a genealogy. We go from Joseph all the way back to Nathan. What is it doing there? Basically showing that even Joseph was from Israel, and basically showing that Yeshua could not inherit the throne from his stepfather or through Nathan. It's there to show you what is not, to illuminate what is. You missed that. Luke's genealogy is there to manifest what is, to show you what is not, so that what is greatly understood and illuminated. If he cannot inherit the throne from Nathan or from his stepfather, then what good is Luke's genealogy? He can't inherit it, A, through a stepfather, B, through Nathan. So it's not there to teach you that there's something missing. Let's look deeper into Luke's genealogy. Yahweh wants us to know something. Just the opposite. He wants you to know that it didn't happen this way, So you got to go to the mathematician to get the answers. The guy that used to keep meticulous records and numbers and knew how to take 3 kings out when all the Jews were including those 3 kings. And Orthodox Jews say Yeshua can't be the Messiah because of the curse on Jeconiah. And Matthew knew by revelation that that curse was reversed in Zerubbabel. Matthew knew all these things. Whose genealogy is Luke's? Joseph. Why not? Makes sense. Joseph had nothing to do with Yeshua. He wasn't the legal father. He wasn't the biological father. Amen? Tov Tov. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So if Matthew is Miriam's genealogy, 14. And boy, that 14th person was right there. But we were looking for a man. We were looking for a man. How could there be a man when she wasn't married? How could there be a man when Yahweh the Father was Yeshua's father? How could there be a man? He was born of a supernatural seed.
Hallelujah.
Impregnated by the Ruach HaKodesh, Miriam was. So we're looking for that final male figure, and there was none because the Father Yahweh birthed the Mashiach. So naturally, the only person left to mention is a female. Whose genealogy is that? Miriam's. Isn't she the last person mentioned?
Yes.
It's been there all these years. Being there. And brothers and sisters, what threw us off? What threw us off? One word.
The sons of Greece.
The sons of Greece. Husband, in both cases, Ba'alah and Garah were translated the same way. Now, let me be honest. Let me be frank with you so you don't misquote me. Okay? Can Garah mean husband? Yes. But not in this case. Because if, verse 16, if that Joseph was Mary's husband, wait a second. Then also he was married. How could he marry? Because he was, let's go back to Matthew. Are you getting this? He couldn't be the legal guardian and the husband.
What about when they were engaged?
That's later on. That's a different Joseph. Completely different Joseph. Here, if we look here, in verse 16. Yaakov brought forth Joseph the Gaurah, the guardian of Miriam. The guardian of Miriam is like a legal father. A legal father who is a father according to Torah. Miriam's guardian was a legal father, and if he's a legal father, meaning he is Miriam's father, were he to later marry Miriam in verse 19, that's incest. Do you really think Yahweh would allow Yeshua to be born from an incestual relationship? Or even associated with an incestual relationship? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's been there all these years, brothers and sisters. I don't even want to close this message. It's so fascinating.
Hallelujah.
I mean, doesn't Matthew go out on a limb? 14, 14, 14? And no matter what your translation is, you're not going to count 14. Right? From Sheltiel to Yeshua, how many are you going to count? 13. From Sheltiel to Yeshua, you're going to count 13. Only in the Aramaic, when you count, listen, you count Joseph and Mary. Why? Because this Joseph was the legal father of Mary. He can be counted. If he is the husband, he cannot be counted, and you're stuck with 13. It's so simple. So again, why is Luke there? To show you that that the genealogies are a waste of time if you don't have the Aramaic autographs and the Aramaic originals where Yahweh can take people out, curse people, reverse curses, stick them in, take them out, and it'll upset your mathematics and all the religious crowd and all the anti-missionaries. Oh, brother, don't you know your Rabbi Moshe believes in that Matthew genealogy? Don't you know there are 3 kings missing? Don't you know about the curse on Zerubbabel? Don't you know that there are only 13 generations from Sheltiel to Yeshua, and it says 14? Don't you know that? When are you going to get smart and become Jewish? When are you going to give up all this Jesus business? When are you going to join us and come to the Chabad Lubavitch and be a real Jew and be really halachically kosher? When are you going to outgrow this stuff? You've been lied to. You've been deceived. They're telling you it's 14, and everybody knows it only adds up to 13. Sure it does if you see it through the eyes of man. But when you realize this is Mary's genealogy, I don't even feel like closing.
Verse 20.
I feel like being repetitive. I feel like renewing the honor. I just don't feel like closing today. I may just sit here and stare at you for the next hour.
It's all right.
Look at verse 20. It's very interesting. It says, Joseph, son of David, his father's name was David, not Yaakov.
So two different Josephs.
That's what the messenger could be saying. That his actual father's name was David.
Yeah, but how? Oh, you
The
mean?
husband Joseph's
Yeah, the husband
father's
Joseph's
name was David.
Joseph's father's name was David.
In a remez. It could be in a remez.
No,
Could
but
be.
the guardian's father's name was Yaakov.
Yaakov.
So different.
Could he?
I see what you're saying. But in the Pashat, it would mean Joseph, descendant of David. Okay, of the royal house of David.
Yeah.
That's in the Pashat.
Right.
Okay.
In the Remez, it could be saying that the husband of oh, I see what you're saying. But see, that's where you would get Luke to fix that. See, look, it couldn't be. I'll show you. Because look, let's go back to Luke. If that's Joseph's genealogy, if Luke is Joseph's genealogy, right? According to this, who is Joseph's father? Okay. According to this, Joseph's father was Eli. You see that, Raina?
Oh, yeah.
If you look in Luke 3:23, you see that? Luke 3:23. Joseph's father was Eli. So Joseph's father couldn't be David.
Okay, so
You see what I'm saying? Because this is the Joseph who was married to Miriam. There's no question about it.
Could be Yaakov. either.
But there's another point. There's another point.
It says Eli is his father. He can't be Yaakov. Those are two different.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, see, that enhances my point.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, does everybody see that? In Luke 3:23, it says Joseph, the son of Eli. Okay, but that's Joseph's genealogy. But back in Matthew 1, it says Yaakov was the father of Joseph. So we see there are two different Josephs.
You know it.
In other words, the father of the husband, Joseph the husband, was Eli. That's beautiful. See, you helped me there. See, now look. The father of Joseph, Miriam's husband, everybody, the one they called Joseph, his father was named Eli. The father of the guardian was named Jacob. Do you see that?
Oh, yes.
Hallelujah! 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 Where's Mrs. Miller now that we need her? Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
Oh, you hit a home run with the baby.
See, a little bit of that home cooking, getting wise in his middle age.
You hit it, man. You hit it. You hit it good, Zephaniah.
So that, does everybody get that? The husband of Miriam, Joseph, this is Joseph's genealogy. It starts off with Joseph. How could it be Mary's genealogy? His father was Eli, but the father of the guardian was what? Was Yaakov. Not only are there two Josephs, they had two different fathers. I told you we weren't supposed to close. Anyone else with a revelation? Not a question, but a revelation. So that's proof there were two different Josephs. They had two different fathers. The father of the guardian, or the Gara, was Jacob. The father of the husband who married Miriam was Eli. Yahweh is so unbelievable.
Talk to me.
And brothers and sisters, if I had a nickel for every person I met to this day that believes that Matthew is Joseph's genealogy. And I believe that till last week and a half. Amazing stuff. Absolutely amazing stuff. Any other comments on the topic? On the topic.
Long time ago, I noticed, and where it says, most of the Gentiles say about Ruth, well, Yahweh can choose anyone to be a Gentile, right? But he's still, her generation was clean according to the Torah. Because in Devarim 23:3, Yahweh, when he cursed, he was going to curse Moabite, he says, until the 10th generation, they can come into our congregation.
Mm-hmm.
right.
If you count the generation from Abraham, which is the brother of Lot,
Yeah.
to Ruth is 10 or 11 generations. So when they tell you that because she's Gentile, you say yes, but she was queen according to Yahweh, according to the Torah.
Yeah.
Correct. In other words, the 10th generation was up, over. Very good point. See, that's a very good point. And of course, Ruth was in the genealogy of Yeshua.
That's right.
That's good.
Yes.
And remember something else. Here's something for you two house people, and remember this. Who was the first king of Judah? Rehoboam, right? Rehoboam. Well, guess what? Here's the problem. Solomon's wife, his mother, was an Ammonite. So the first Jewish king wasn't even Jewish. Or if he was Jewish, he had Ammonite blood. You ask a traditional Jew, who was the first Jewish king after the division of the house of David? Oh, the first Jewish king was Rehoboam. That Ephraimite went north, Jeroboam. Oh, really? Well, what was Rehoboam's mama? She wasn't Jewish. She was an Ammonite. And he's considered the first Jewish king. You know, how can you be Spanish? How can you be black? How can you be a woman? How can you be anything and be an Israelite if you're not a white Caucasian Jew from Europe? When are we going to stop? When are we going to get out of the debating societies and take our head away from the chessboards and the checkerboard and start reading the scripture? Where Yahweh says to Jacob, your father was what? An Aramean. Wow, what a blow to my religious bubble. The first Jewish king wasn't Jewish. Or he had some non-Jewish blood. What a bummer. The first Jewish king, Rehoboam, had an Ammonite mama. So when I tell you about this two-house truth, it's to bring you back in, not to confuse you, to bring you back in.
To bring all of us in.
Oh.
This is what happened when one half.
Any other comments?
The other half.
Brian, please come forward. You're not off the hook.
He's complete.
Please come forward, Raina. Dim the lights. Let's worship Yahweh. Come on, come on. Don't give me no tired. Nobody's tired.
He's complete now.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Let's worship Yahweh. Great time for worship. Come on, Raina. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Come on. Roberto, we got drums, bongos. Baruch Hashem Yahweh!
12 messengers, 12 tribes of Israel. 12 gates, 12 messengers, 12 tribes of Israel. 12 gates, 12 messengers, 12 tribes of Israel. 12 gates, 12 messengers, 12 tribes of Israel.
Lebanese Reuben, Lebanese Shimon, Teshuvah, welcome back. Lebanese Levi, Lebanese Yehuda, Teshuvah, welcome back. God's been waiting for you for 2,700 years. Teshuvah, welcome back. Lift your hands, praise Yahweh. He has gathered the sons of Yaakov. Blow the shofar and rejoice. Yahweh's word has come to be. Teshuvah, welcome back. Lebanese Dan, Lebanese Natalie, Teshuvah, welcome back. Lebanese Gad, Lebanese Asher, Teshuvah, welcome back. Yah's been waiting for you for 2,700 years. Teshuvah, welcome back. Lift your hands, praise Yahweh. He has gathered the sons welcome back. Lebanese Zakar, Lebanese Avilon, Teshuvah, welcome back. Lebanese Yosef, Lebanese Benjamin, Teshuvah, welcome back. God's been waiting for you for 2,700 years. Teshuvah, welcome back. Lift your hands, praise Yahweh. He has gathered the sons of Yaakov. Blow the shofar and rejoice. Yahweh's word has come to be. Teshuvah, welcome back. Teshuvah, Israel, welcome back.
Gates,
12 gates,
12 messengers,
12 messengers,
12 tribes